What would make you question everything you believe about success and love? Picture a dark night when a wealthy man, known for his luxurious lifestyle, decides to do something completely unexpected. He meets a woman in a desperate situation, and what seems like a simple act of kindness quickly turns into a story that defies all norms. When the millionaire and the destitute woman discover they are expecting a child, the world around them turns against them. The criticism is intense, and the mockery is relentless. But what is hidden behind this scene of judgment and scorn? How does what seems like a story of shame transform into something that makes everyone question their own choices and values? Get ready for a shocking revelation that will change your perspective on love, dignity, and the true meaning of success. Are you prepared to uncover the twist no one saw coming? Make sure you are subscribed to the channel, and don't miss any of our heartwarming and inspiring stories. It was a cold and rainy night, the kind where people avoid leaving their homes, wrap themselves in blankets, and stay far away from the dark, wet streets. But Jonas, a man everyone knew for his success and wealth, was driving through the city after a long day of work. He was a respected businessman, the owner of several companies, yet he always kept a low profile about his personal life, especially his generosity. He liked to help without fanfare, without anyone knowing. As Jonas drove, something caught his attention near a park corner. A small, fragile figure huddled under a bench, trying to shield herself from the rain that mercilessly poured down. He slowed his car, and as he got closer, he saw that it was a young woman, her clothes torn and soaked. Her face bore the exhaustion and sadness of someone who had long ago lost hope. She was shivering from the cold, and the muffled sound of thunder seemed to echo her silent pain. Jonas was never the type to just look the other way when he saw someone suffering. His heart, though accustomed to the business world and cold decisions, always beat strongly for compassion. He stopped the car by the bench and without much thought stepped out, feeling the cold rain hit his face. As he approached, the young woman looked up, startled, as if expecting to be shooed away or ignored, as happened every day with the hundreds of people who passed her by. "It's all right," Jonas said, his voice soft but firm. "My name is Jonas. You don't need to be afraid. I just want to help you." The young woman hesitated for a moment, her distrustful eyes fixed on him. No one had ever cared enough to even ask her name. What did he want? Why would someone so well-dressed and clearly wealthy stop to talk to her? But the exhaustion and cold were so overwhelming that Estella, too drained to refuse help, just gave a slight nod. "Are you hungry?" he asked, noticing her thinness, her pale face, marked by sleepless nights and days without food. Estella simply nodded in silence. Without hesitation, Jonas rushed back to the car and grabbed a blanket from the back seat. He knelt beside her and gently placed the blanket over her trembling shoulders. In that moment, something inside Estella began to thaw, as if the hard layer of ice around her heart, built up over so many years, started to crack. She didn't know why, but something about the way Jonas treated her with dignity and respect made her feel that perhaps for the first time in a long time she wasn't invisible. "Come on," Jonas said with a friendly smile. "I know a place where you can get something to eat and warm up. Don't worry, I'll take care of you." Jonas helped her to her feet, and together they walked to the car. He opened the door for her, which surprised her. Someone opening a door for her? When was the last time that had happened? Silently, she got into the car, feeling the warm embrace of the vehicle. The rain still poured outside, but now, for some reason, the sound of the raindrops hitting the glass felt less threatening. On the way, Jonas remained silent, respecting Estella's space. He knew she was probably dealing with much more than just the cold and hunger that night. As he drove toward a restaurant he knew, he reflected on how unpredictable life could be. Amid his fast-paced routine, he could never have imagined that a rainy night like this would lead him to cross paths with a woman who seemed to have lost everything. But for some reason, he felt that this encounter was no accident. When they arrived at the restaurant, Jonas ordered a hot meal for Estella, who could hardly believe what was happening. After years of living on the streets, she had grown used to being ignored, treated as if she didn't exist. But there was this man, someone who clearly didn't need to do anything for her, showing a kindness she had long forgotten existed in the world. "Thank you." She finally broke the silence, holding the warm cup of coffee in her hands. Jonas smiled and nodded, as if to say there was no need to thank him. To him it wasn't a favor. It was simply the right thing to do. There at that small table in a restaurant on a cold night, two completely different lives had crossed paths. And little did they know that this meeting would change both of their destinies forever. This was the first time Estella, who had lost everything, felt a glimmer of hope. And for Jonas it was the beginning of a journey he could never have predicted. One that would lead him to question everything he believed about life, love, and what truly mattered. In the days following that rainy night, something unexpected began to happen between Jonas and Estella. What initially seemed like a simple act of kindness evolved into a genuine friendship, built upon a deep connection, the kind you can't explain but only feel. Jonas, who was used to dealing with numbers, contracts, and negotiations, now found himself completely immersed in a relationship that challenged him to see the world in ways he never had before. And for Estella, who was used to being invisible to everyone, it felt like for the first time in a long while, someone truly saw her for who she was. At first, Estella was still cautious. Who could blame her? Life had been harsh and unjust, stripping her of everything she loved. But slowly, through late-night conversations and Jonas' small gestures, she began to open up. When she finally started telling her story, it was as if an immense weight she had carried for years began to lift. Sitting at Jonas' kitchen table, sipping hot tea, she began to speak. She shared her once happy childhood and how everything seemed perfect until one day, a car accident took her parents' lives. They were her foundation, her world. Without them, Estella was thrown into a foster system that didn't care about her. She moved from home to home, never feeling like she truly belonged anywhere. When I turned 18, they kicked me out of the house I was staying in. It felt like they had taken the last piece of who I was, she said, staring into her cup of tea, avoiding Jonas' gaze, afraid he might judge her. But he didn't say anything. He just listened, with the kind of attention and patience Estella hadn't received in a very long time. She talked about the odd jobs she took, doing everything she could to stay afloat until life's relentless circumstances pushed her onto the streets. With no family and no friends, she found herself alone, battling hunger and the cold. I was so scared. There were days when I felt completely invisible, like I wasn't a person anymore, just a shadow, she confessed, her voice trembling. For a brief moment, her eyes filled with tears, but she swallowed them back, as she had learned to do so many times before. Jonas, who had remained silent up to that point, felt a wave of compassion wash over him. He had heard many stories throughout his life, stories of business, of successful people, of grand ambitions. But none had touched his heart the way Estella's did. Sitting across from him wasn't a homeless woman, as many saw her, but an incredibly strong person, someone who had survived the worst and still maintained her humanity. "You're much stronger than you think, Estella," Jonas finally said, breaking the silence. "I don't know if I could have survived what you've been through." Estella looked at him surprised. No one had ever said that to her before. To everyone else, she had always been just the woman on the street, someone who had failed in life. But Jonas, he saw her differently, not as someone broken, but as someone who had overcome the impossible. For the first time in a long time, Estella began to believe there might be something of worth in her. As the days passed, their connection grew stronger. Jonas made it a point to sit with her every night, listening to her stories, not out of obligation but because he genuinely wanted to be there. He began to realize that there was something in Estella that went far beyond her appearance, far beyond the circumstances she found herself in. It was her resilience, her ability to maintain dignity, even when the world around her had collapsed. Estella in turn began to feel more at ease. She realized she could trust Jonas. He never looked at her with pity, never treated her as if she were beneath him. On the contrary, he respected her. In his gestures, in his words, she felt something she had forgotten existed. Being seen as a person. "I never thought someone like you would care about someone like me," she said one day with a shy smile. "Someone like you?" Jonas asked, puzzled. "Estella, you're an amazing person. You were just waiting for someone to see it." Those words echoed in Estella's mind for days. She had never thought of herself that way. And slowly, she began to believe them. Their friendship became a pillar in her life, something solid amid the uncertainty that had always surrounded her. Jonas wasn't just helping her with material things. More importantly, he was helping her rebuild her confidence, making her believe in herself again. For Jonas, the friendship was transformative as well. He, who had always lived in a world of superficialities, was now discovering that the things that truly mattered couldn't be bought. He was learning about true strength of character, about how appearances can deceive, and how sometimes the richest people in spirit are those who have endured the greatest hardships. The connection between the two went far beyond what anyone could have imagined. It wasn't about charity, nor about obligation. It was about truly seeing the other without judgment, without prejudice. And there, in that simple act of seeing each other beyond appearances, something magical was happening. Something that would forever change the lives of both of them. As days turned into weeks, the friendship between Jonas and Estella began to take on different shades. It was no longer just a relationship of support or solidarity. Something deeper was growing between them, something neither of them had expected. Jonas, always so focused on his career, numbers, and the status his fortune afforded him, started to feel something he couldn't control. What was meant to be merely a gesture of kindness had evolved into a solid friendship, and slowly that friendship blossomed into love. What was curious was that there wasn't a specific moment that defined it. It wasn't a passionate kiss or a grand declaration. It was in the details, in the small gestures of everyday life, that Jonas realized he was falling in love. It was Estella's shy smile when thanking him for a coffee, the sparkle in her eyes when she spoke about her forgotten dreams, or the way she remained steadfast despite all the adversity. He found himself admiring not just her beauty, which gradually became more evident, but also the strength and resilience she displayed. For Estella, discovering this love was even more surprising. Used to being ignored and judged, she couldn't believe that someone like Jonas could fall for someone like her. The nights they spent talking, the stories she shared, all of it created a connection she had never felt before. For the first time, she didn't feel invisible or inferior. With Jonas, Estella felt respected, valued, and most importantly, loved. But like any love that blossoms under improbable circumstances, theirs did not go unnoticed. High society, always keeping an eye on Jonas's every move, began to notice Estella's frequent presence by his side. And as soon as the first rumors about their involvement surfaced, the whirlwind of criticism quickly followed. People didn't believe that Jonas's feelings for Estella could be sincere. After all, he was a man of wealth and influence, while she was nothing more than a woman who had come from the streets. The malicious gossip spread like wildfire. At dinners and gala events, people mocked Jonas for lowering himself to Estella's level. Some said she was using him, that she was only with him for his money. Others claimed Jonas had lost his mind, that a man of his stature should never be involved with someone like her. Estella was seen as an opportunist, an ambitious beggar, who had pulled off the perfect con on a distracted millionaire. And as if the criticism weren't enough, there came a major twist. Estella discovered she was pregnant. The news hit like a bombshell. Estella, already used to judgmental stares, now found herself at the center of an even bigger storm. People said she had gotten pregnant on purpose, that she was using the pregnancy to trap Jonas. Around every corner, she heard laughter, whispers, and cruel insinuations. Even those who didn't know her personally felt entitled to judge. Jonas, on the other hand, didn't care about what people said. He was happy, deeply in love, and excited about the idea of starting a family with Estella. But the external pressure was immense. Friends and acquaintances warned him about the dangers of getting involved with someone like her. They tried to convince him that he was being manipulated, that Estella couldn't possibly love him for real. These were hard times for both of them. Estella, insecure from all the criticism, began to question herself. Do I really deserve to be here? She wondered. Am I ruining his life? She knew Jonas loved her, but the weight of society's judgment was crushing. There were moments when Estella thought about leaving, freeing Jonas from this burden, but every time she considered it, he would hold her, as if he knew exactly what was going through her mind. I love you, Estella, he would whisper. None of this matters. Jonas didn't see her as a woman who needed to be rescued. He saw her as a partner, someone with whom he wanted to build a life, regardless of the circumstances. And the more the criticism intensified, the more convinced he became that the love he felt for her was real and unbreakable. And so, amid mockery and cruel judgments, their love blossomed. It wasn't a love that followed society's rules or fit within established norms. It was a love that defied prejudice and showed that sometimes the truest connections arise from the most unexpected situations. Estella and Jonas were ready to face whatever came their way, together, with hearts full of hope and love as their shield against adversity. News of Jonas and Estella's relationship, and especially her pregnancy, spread like wildfire throughout high society. Jonas's world, which had once seemed solid and impenetrable, began to crumble under the weight of the scandal. Society was ready to judge, and all eyes were fixed on him. The first reactions were shock. At dinners and social events, people whispered to one another, exchanging incredulous glances. It was as if Jonas had committed an unthinkable mistake. What should have been a time of celebration and joy had turned into a spectacle of ridicule. Instead of celebrating the new life that was about to begin, Jonas now found himself at the center of a public frenzy, exposed to scorn and contempt. The tabloids were having a field day. Cover after cover, Jonas and Estella's story was treated as a tragedy of epic proportions. The headlines screamed, "Millionaire chooses beggar," and Jonas's biggest mistake, the affair with a woman from the streets. The articles were filled with words like disgraceful, scandalous, and tragic. With every new story, Jonas's suffering seemed to deepen. What should have been an intimate, personal moment was now being dissected and displayed for an audience hungry for scandal. The elite did not hesitate to express their disdain. Close friends who were once constant figures in Jonas's life distanced themselves with sharp contempt. At a gala, one of his oldest friends, Richard, a man with whom Jonas had shared countless moments of joy and success, turned his back on him. Richard, who had always been one of Jonas's greatest supporters, now seemed barely able to look at him. "You can't be serious, Jonas," Richard exclaimed, his voice heavy with disappointment. "This is a colossal mistake. You're destroying your reputation over a woman from the streets." Jonas, feeling the weight of Richard's words, simply lowered his head. He knew that for those accustomed to a life of luxury and superficiality, his decision seemed incomprehensible. But for him it was a matter of the heart. He was in love with Estella, and they were expecting a child together. To him, this was the most real and genuine experience he had ever had. The rejection didn't come just from friends but also from his own family. His mother, whom he had always admired and respected, was devastated. In a conversation filled with emotion and frustration, she said to Jonas, with tears in her eyes, "Son, what are you doing? Estella. She's not someone who fits into our life. People are saying you're ruining everything because of her. You're about to make a mistake you'll never be able to undo." Jonas felt his heart break hearing these words. He wanted his mother to understand. He wanted her to see what he saw in Estella. But more than that, he wanted her to know how committed he was to the future he was building with her. Unfortunately, in his mother's mind and in the minds of most people around him, the image of Estella as a beggar clouded the truth of who she really was. The social pressure was immense. In conversations with colleagues and acquaintances, Jonas felt the critical stares and the constant murmurs. Words of disapproval became a constant in his life. Some even said he was being manipulated, that Estella only wanted his money, and that he was blinded by love. But what hurt Jonas the most was the sense of betrayal and misunderstanding from those who had once been his strongest supporters. He found himself isolated, with no one to turn to. Loneliness and despair surrounded him, but he remained steadfast. Each insult, each judgmental look, each cruel word only strengthened his resolve to do what he believed was right. Amid this storm of rejection, Estella stood by his side, more supportive than ever. She understood the weight of the situation but was willing to face it all with him. Together they faced the torrent of criticism and judgment, trying to remain strong. Their relationship was severely tested, but the love they had for each other seemed to be the only refuge in the midst of the chaos. They grew even closer, protecting each other from external attacks. Every challenge they faced, every criticism they endured, only strengthened the bond between them. As the world rejected them, Jonas and Estella found comfort and support in one another. And despite all the pain and difficulties, they knew they were building something real, something worth fighting for, regardless of the opinions of those around them. Thus, in the face of relentless judgment and public rejection, their love continued to be a beacon of hope and resilience. Even in the face of a sea of criticism and rejection, Jonas was determined to stand by Estella. The decision wasn't easy, but he knew that what he felt for her was real and deep. The pain of the criticism and the weight of judgment could not overshadow the truth he saw in Estella, and the future they could build together. Jonas decided that, despite all the chaos around him, he would do everything possible to offer Estella and their future child a better life. His first action was to ensure Estella had a safe and comfortable place to live. He found a cozy house in a quiet neighborhood, far from the streets and those painful memories. The house was simple, but it was a home, and for Estella, it was an immense relief to know she finally had a place to call her own. As Estella stepped into the new house, she felt a mixture of emotions. The feeling of being away from the streets and the hardships that had followed her for so long was comforting, but at the same time, fear and uncertainty about the future still lingered over her. Jonas, noticing this, made sure to be by her side every step of the way. He was involved not just in the logistics of the move, but also in creating a welcoming and nurturing environment. The following days were dedicated to helping Estella adjust to her new life. Jonas spent hours talking with her, listening to her concerns and fears, offering advice and encouragement. He knew that Estella's transformation would not just be physical, but emotional and spiritual as well. Estella needed to believe in her own worth and potential, something she had lost over the years of suffering and marginalization. Jonas also arranged sessions with therapists and counselors to help Estella deal with the trauma of her past. He understood that for her to truly overcome her hardships, it was crucial for her to process and heal the emotional wounds she carried. Initially hesitant, Estella began to open up, revealing the deep pain she had kept to herself. These sessions became moments of intense vulnerability and strength, where she started to find new hopes and goals for the future. As Estella adapted to her new life, Jonas also focused on preparing her for the baby's arrival. He attended medical appointments, helped lovingly prepare the baby's room, and got involved in every detail, from choosing the name to organizing the necessary items for the baby's arrival. Jonas' constant presence was a pillar of support, and his involvement showed how committed he was to the new life they were building. The community around them, which had previously criticized them, began to notice the change. Although some remained firm in their disdain, others started to see the true nature of Jonas and Estella. Small acts of kindness and generosity slowly broke the negative image that had formed. Some people who had initially mocked Jonas began to recognize his effort and determination to transform Estella's life and build a family together. The adversities didn't disappear overnight. Every day, Jonas and Estella faced new challenges, from financial difficulties to lingering prejudices. But together they learned to face each obstacle with courage and resilience. Jonas remained a source of strength and support, and over time, Estella began to believe in herself and the potential of her new life. With the baby's arrival, the love and dedication between Jonas and Estella became even more apparent. The birth of their child brought a new light into their lives, and despite the difficulties, there was a renewed sense of purpose and joy. Jonas was by Estella's side throughout the entire process, supporting her with love and enthusiasm. They were creating a home filled with love and hope for their child, far from the shadows of the past. Jonas' decision to stand by Estella and their child not only transformed their lives, but also challenged the perceptions of many around them. He proved that true love and determination can overcome even the greatest obstacles and prejudices. Their story became a testament to strength and resilience, showing that even when the odds are stacked against you, it's possible to create something beautiful and meaningful with courage and love. Over time, Estella's life began to change in profound and inspiring ways, thanks to Jonas' unwavering support. What started as an emergency aid evolved into a project of personal and social transformation. Alongside Estella, Jonas helped her envision a future that once seemed impossible. The first major change was the decision to invest in education. Estella had always dreamed of learning more, but life circumstances had prevented her from pursuing her goals. Now, with the opportunity to start over, she enrolled in a course in business management and entrepreneurship, fields she believed could help make a positive impact on the community. Jonas ensured Estella had access to tutors and mentors, people who could guide her and help her make the most of her new opportunities. Estella dove into her studies with renewed passion. In every class, she absorbed knowledge with the same hunger she once had while searching for food on the streets. Her teachers were impressed by her determination and desire to learn, and Estella soon stood out as an exemplary student. She began to develop a detailed plan to use her new skills practically, creating a social project aimed at helping others in similar situations to those she had faced. With Jonas' financial and logistical support, Estella founded Light of Hope, an organization dedicated to offering aid to the homeless. The organization provided not only shelter and food, but also education, training, and psychological support. Estella's project was rooted in her own experience, and she knew exactly what was needed to make a difference. She and her team worked tirelessly to create a welcoming and effective environment where people could begin to rewrite their own stories. The impact of Light of Hope was immediate and profound. People who had once felt forgotten and helpless began to find a new chance in life. Estella became a source of inspiration, not only for those who benefited from her organization, but also for the community at large. She started appearing at events, giving talks, and sharing her story at conferences. Her journey of overcoming adversity and achieving success began to attract media and public attention, transforming her into a respected and admired public figure. Estella's transformation wasn't just external but internal as well. Throughout her journey, she discovered strengths and abilities she never knew she had. She became a passionate advocate for social justice, using her platform to drive meaningful change and inspire others to fight for a better future. Estella started collaborating with other organizations and working on larger-scale projects, always keeping her mission of empowering the underprivileged at the forefront. Her relationship with Jonas also evolved in profound ways. Together, they built a life founded on love, respect, and purpose. Their partnership became an example of how two people can face adversity and create something positive and lasting. Their journey wasn't without challenges, but their mutual determination and support helped them overcome each obstacle. Estella's presence in public life helped break stigmas and prejudices surrounding vulnerable individuals. She became a symbol of hope and transformation, showing that, with support, education, and determination, it is possible to overcome any adversity. Her story became a beacon for those still struggling to find their own way. In the end, Estella not only transformed her own life, but also created a legacy of change and inspiration. She became a woman admired for her courage and dedication, a living testament that true success is not just about personal achievements, but about using those accomplishments to positively impact others. Thus, from a beggar to an inspirational woman, Estella proved that the light of hope can shine even in the darkest circumstances. 2 years had passed since the birth of Estella and Jonas' son, and their lives had changed in ways that few could have imagined. Their journey, marked by challenges and triumphs, was now culminating in an unexpected twist that was about to surprise everyone. Estella and Jonas had worked tirelessly to turn Light of Hope into a successful organization. The social project, which had initially started as a simple idea to support the homeless, had grown exponentially. Now, Light of Hope was a nationally recognized institution with branches in several cities and a significant impact on communities across the country. The work Estella had begun with so much love and determination was producing impressive results. The organization not only provided shelter and food, but also educational programs, professional training, and psychological support. The success stories of those who had been helped by Light of Hope began to spread, and Estella became a symbol of hope and renewal. Estella's life was truly inspirational. She continued to be an active public figure, attending conferences and events, sharing her journey, and encouraging others to pursue their own dreams. Her charisma and determination not only attracted media attention, but also earned the respect and admiration of the public. Estella became a national figure of resilience, showing how adversity can be transformed into strength and positive impact. Jonas, by her side, remained an unwavering pillar of support. Together, they balanced family life with the growing demands of the organization. They created a harmonious home where their son was raised in an environment full of love and security. The relationship between Estella and Jonas was stronger than ever, solidified by their shared journey and the achievements they had reached. The unexpected turn in their lives also brought a shift in the perceptions of those around them. Those who, in the past, had mocked and criticized Jonas and Estella began to recognize and applaud their journey. The critiques and ridicule were replaced by admiration and respect. People who once doubted now came to Estella for inspiration, some even offering support and partnerships to further expand the impact of Light of Hope. Events that once focused on criticism now celebrated the achievements of Estella and Jonas. Public recognition materialized in awards and honors that highlighted the exceptional work of Light of Hope. The story of Estella and Jonas became a narrative of transformation, not just personal but also communal. The hardships they had faced were now seen as stepping stones to even greater success. At a significant event for the organization, Estella took the stage to receive an award in recognition of the impact of Light of Hope. As she looked out at the audience, filled with familiar and unfamiliar faces, she felt a wave of gratitude and fulfillment. The words she had shared over the years, about the importance of believing in oneself and fighting for a better future, were now being realized in a tangible reality. Jonas, watching Estella with pride, reflected on how much their lives had changed. The journey that began with an unexpected meeting and a series of challenges had transformed into a story of success and inspiration. They had overcome adversity and built something that not only transformed their own lives, but also the lives of many others. Their son, now 2 years old, was growing up in an environment where love and commitment were evident. His presence in Estella and Jonas' lives was a constant reminder of the positive impact they had created. Every smile, every laugh, and every step taken by the little one was a celebration of the new life they had built together. Thus, 2 years after the birth of their son, Estella and Jonas had not only overcome adversity, but had transformed their lives, and the lives of many others in ways that were truly inspiring. The unexpected turn in their lives was proof that, with determination, love, and support, it is possible to overcome even the greatest challenges and create a bright future. The story of Jonas and Estella, marked by challenges and triumphs, culminated in a final lesson that was both touching and inspiring. They had not only overcome personal and social obstacles, but they also demonstrated to the world the transformative power of true love and kindness. After 2 years of hard work and remarkable achievements, Jonas and Estella's lives were becoming a narrative of success and hope. They had turned Light of Hope into a nationwide admired organization, and their journey, which began with criticism and mockery, was now celebrated as a shining example of perseverance and empathy. The pinnacle of this transformation arrived at a special event organized by Light of Hope. It was a gala evening, filled with lights and celebrations, where the organization was about to receive a major award for its contribution to society. The atmosphere was charged with expectation and emotion, not only for the award but also for the profound meaning the event held for Jonas, Estella, and all those touched by their work. As the guests settled and the ceremony began, the highlight of the night was a special presentation Estella had prepared. Instead of simply accepting the award, she decided to share the story of Light of Hope in a deeply personal way. She stepped onto the stage, her heart pounding, and began to speak with a sincerity and passion that captivated everyone. Estella shared her own journey, from the cold and lonely nights on the streets to creating an organization that had changed lives. She spoke about meeting Jonas, about how his love and generosity helped her rise and fight for a better future. In her words, there was a depth that moved every person in the audience, leaving many deeply emotional. She emphasized how Jonas's kindness had been a light in her life, showing that true love sees neither prejudice nor limitations. Their story was proof that, even in the most difficult circumstances, love and empathy can create meaningful change. Estella spoke about the people who had been helped by Light of Hope, sharing testimonials of how their lives had been transformed by the aid and support they received. Estella's speech was accompanied by a video presentation showcasing significant moments of the organization's work, from distributing food and clothing to the stories of people who had found a new beginning. The images were paired with moving music and emotional testimonies that illustrated the positive impact Light of Hope had made. As the audience watched, something remarkable happened. The mockery and skepticism that had marked Jonas and Estella's early journey were replaced with genuine admiration. People who once criticized them began to see the true value of their work. The event, which started as a celebration of achievements, turned into a moment of reflection and recognition of the power of love and kindness. At the end of the ceremony, when the award was handed to Estella and Jonas, the applause that filled the room was not only to acknowledge their achievements, but to celebrate the transformation they had brought about. The couple, holding hands, accepted the award with humility and gratitude, knowing that true success was not in the recognition, but in their ability to touch and change lives. With their hearts full of joy and fulfillment, Jonas and Estella knew they had accomplished something far deeper than any award could represent. They had shown the world that, with true love and kindness, it is possible to overcome prejudice and adversity, turning even the greatest challenges into opportunities for growth and change. The final lesson from Jonas and Estella's story was clear and powerful. Love and empathy have the power to transform lives and create lasting impact. Yesterday's mockery had turned into admiration, and their story became an inspiring example of how perseverance and kindness can change not only their own destiny, but also the lives of everyone around them. The transformative power of love and empathy. The story of Jonas and Estella is more than just a tale of overcoming adversity and success. It is a powerful reminder that true love and kindness have the capacity to transform lives, overcome prejudice, and create lasting change. Their journey, which began with challenges and criticism, evolved into a shining example of how, with perseverance and empathy, we can not only face adversity but also inspire and transform the world around us. What can we learn from Jonas and Estella's journey? First and foremost, that we should never underestimate the impact of a generous heart and an open mind. The ability to believe in and support others, especially during difficult times, can make a significant difference. Additionally, this story teaches us that perseverance in the face of hardship, combined with the strength of love and empathy, can lead us to not only achieve our own goals but also make a difference in the lives of many. If you found inspiration in Jonas and Estella's story and want to see more content that touches the heart and showcases the best of humanity, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Here, you will find heartwarming stories that offer valuable lessons and motivation to face life's challenges with courage and hope. Click the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you won't miss any videos. Join us on our journey of telling stories that inspire and transform, and become part of a community that believes in the power of love and kindness to change the world. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.